Why, welcome back to the channel. This is 3 days in a row of uploads. Get ready for a fourth one because tomorrow I got a new one that's going to be a surprise. But this one, less of a surprise. If you know anything about my channel, you know that I always go see a big blockbuster when a big one comes out. And this week's big blockbuster, The Marvels. As you guys may know, I'm a huge superhero fan. I'm doing 3 weekly reviews on superhero shows, so you gotta know I'm a superhero fan. And of course, I was gonna go see The Marvels. A movie that the trailers were so underselling this movie. The trailers were awful. My expectations were low because I didn't really like the first Captain Marvel movie either. Looking back on it, I rewatched it recently. It was very much average, but such an unlikable lead protagonist in Carol Danvers. Captain Marvel Brie Larson just looked sleeping through the part. And I must say that all of my main issues with the first Captain Marvel are fixed with this second one. And personally, I think it is one of the most rewatchable Marvel movies in the MCU. But let's talk a little bit more about it step by step. The story is pretty simple. I'm gonna leave it as basic as possible, and that is all 3 characters, Monica Rambeau, Carol Danvers, and Kamala Khan, all their powers get entangled. They swap around while fighting this bad guy who just wants to restore the Kree homeworld. And it is a pretty simple story. So it's mostly about execution, which is mostly up to the director. And so the story, due to its simplicity, does make for more character opportunities, and there are quite a few of those. But as I'll talk about in my expectations and experience, I will go into a little more depth about that. But in terms of pure story, Hot Pocket score, it's not like super, it's edible, but not something that you're going to be like wanting to rewatch over and over and over, and you're going to have one for every meal of every day. Cinematics, this is actually a really good looking Marvel movie in my opinion. It starts off a little bit of the CGI at the beginning is rough, but I have to say the fight choreography for this movie was spot on and pretty kick-ass, honestly. Something I was not really expecting. The music was great. Something that I have to say about this film in terms of cinematics is that it gave off a fun energy to it, and it just had that exciting energy to it, and I really do appreciate that after the last one was such a bore and was completely deprived of all fun. But it was great. It was a great time watching. I'll talk more about performances in the actors section, but it was legitimately way funnier than I expected, and I personally find it to be one of the funniest Marvel movies that are out. Like, I think it's funnier than even the Guardians movies. The Guardians movies are funny, but this one had like me chuckling, like near laugh out loud at multiple moments throughout the runtime. And it's also nice because it's a much shorter runtime than many others in the MCU. So it's easily the most rewatchable due to the short runtime and how it just flies by, and it's a fun ride. Very fun to enjoy, simple story, good interactions overall. Good vibes is the best way to put it. So hand grenade score for cinematics. Directing, Nia DaCosta does a great job with this film. Honestly, it's a vast improvement over the first one in terms of like pacing. The pacing does feel a lot better. It's a much shorter film. It's just more, what's the word I'm looking for? It's just more tasteful. Like, it's just better paced. Like, it's easier to consume at a faster rate than the others. The only real issue with this show is the fact that you have to watch Captain Marvel, you have to watch WandaVision, you have to watch Miss Marvel, you have to watch Endgame. You don't really have to watch Secret Invasion. And as a matter of fact, I don't know why you would watch Secret Invasion. It does not affect this show whatsoever. movie. The show does not affect this movie whatsoever. It's insane. But I'll give the directing a hand grenade score as well. And now let's get into the acting. Now let's talk about the acting. Let's talk about our core three, because that's the only real ones we really need to focus on. Samuel L. Jackson is doing his Nick Fury as always, but he's doing more of like a fun Nick Fury, which is really weird since in canon, his immediate previous project was Secret Invasion, which was just the most tonally different project than this one. It was so different and so bad, I don't want to talk about it. But let's talk about our core three: Brie Larson, Teyonah Parris, and Iman Vellani. Brie Larson is so much more likable in this role because I feel like they gave Captain Marvel a personality and an actual character. In the last one, she was just lines with no personality, no character, nothing. She was boring. She was a bland, blank piece of paper with no lines. She wasn't even college ruled. She was printer paper that nothing got printed on. It was a blank sheet. This time, she actually has character. So much more interesting this time around. Teyonah Parris also has some good moments, but the real breakout of this film is Iman Vellani's Miss Marvel. Something that this show does very well. Movie. I keep calling it show. I'm so sorry. But something that this movie does very well is keep the consistency of Iman Vellani, and it keeps her energy up, and it's infectious throughout the whole runtime. It's great, and it's so much better tonally. It's so much more tonally consistent too than her show. Her show was just like a little messy. It felt like 2 seasons of television squished together into one, and they dropped like 3 very important episodes to build up suspense and plot. So it was so nice to see Iman get some much better writing, in my opinion, but it kept the core essence of the character that I did enjoy in the Miss Marvel show in this film, and it didn't make it super annoying, which was quite surprising, but truly a standout breakout performance of the whole cast. Because of Iman Vellani's great performance, Teyonah Parris still doing great with what she had, which was a lot less than Iman Vellani and Brie Larson. And Brie Larson actually, mind-blowing, had a character, got to show actual emotion, wasn't a goddamn robot unlike the first one. The first Captain Marvel is just so bland and boring and generic. This one is such a breath of fresh air. I am so happy with how this one turned out in comparison. It is such a much better experience. I'm giving it a hand grenade score for the acting because those 3 carry it, and the support and the Miss Marvel supporting cast, the father figure, the mother figure, and the brother, they were all great as well. But now let's talk about expectations and experience, where I do have many thoughts. So this film was a grand improvement on many things, but one thing that really held it back from reaching, I think, its full potential is some of the just random little bits that they added into the film that really felt unnecessary. Like all of the Flerken kittens, they felt a little unnecessary, and the way they introduce it into the film is a little weird, and it's not really, I guess it's got some purpose in the film, but at the same time, it just felt off, and I didn't really like it, because the whole Nick Fury and Saber plot line of this film, and the only reason I feel comfortable saying this in this review is because I saw it in the trailers. You don't know exactly what's going to happen, but I'll just say the plot line is just tagged on there. It's not really important. It doesn't feel important, and it's just such a chore to get through those scenes when you just want to see the magnificent chemistry between our main 3 trio. Other than that, I actually really enjoyed the whole thing. It didn't feel like a drag. It was very fun. It was very entertaining, which is something I must say is missing from the MCU. It's just missing that pure comedy. Like, this is up there as one of the most rewatchable MCU movies for me, alongside the first Ant-Man movie. The first Ant-Man movie is one of my favorites to rewatch because you can just turn it on and have a blast with it every time. It's rewatchable. It's fun. You don't feel like you don't feel fulfilled. Like, you feel fulfilled after watching it, but not in like, oh yes, I just got done with my 50th Marvel MCU rewatch and I gotta keep going. But yeah, so that was one of my issues. I can't remember the other issue. I remember I had another one, but I just can't remember, and it's at the tip of my tongue. Maybe I'll add it in the comments when I remember. But that's pretty much all I have to say. So I will give this section a hand grenade score as well, as it is still rewatchable. It is so much funnier than I expected. It's more fun. The action is great. It's entertaining, and that's what's really important about a film. But it does have some issues that at some point you just can't overlook. So I'm going to give it a certified hand grenade score. This is a hand grenade movie. I'm going to be rewatching it fairly soon because I'm doing my full MCU rewatch. I haven't added it to my MCU rankings because we're not there in the chronology yet. But a good time nonetheless. I'm excited to see if Nia DaCosta directs more Marvel projects in the future, and I'm just excited to see where this all leads. Other than that, leave a like if you enjoyed. I know this video is a little longer than the ones I've been posting recently, so I really do appreciate it if you stuck around till the end. Be sure to leave a comment saying you stuck around till the end, and subscribe if you haven't already. And other than that, I will leave you guys to it.